The Atlanta Hawks are officially in the playoffs instead of the play-in, and it's all due to a couple of individuals that I want to get into on this episode today. But before I tell you who those people are, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and tell a friend, tell a family member, tell whoever to support my channel.
Big as the Super Bowl.
The Hawks, like I said in the intro, are officially in the playoffs instead of the play-in. No play-in this year, baby. The Atlanta Hawks are officially in the playoffs. They will not be dealing with none of that play-in nonsense for the first time in 5 years. Yes, the Atlanta Hawks did it. They are in the playoffs. Now, as of this recording, we don't know who they're going to be playing yet. We just know it's either going to be between the New York Knicks or the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's going to be one of them two teams. But regardless, the Atlanta Hawks are in the playoffs. And look, man, this is a great accomplishment for these Atlanta Hawks, man. All things considered, this has been a great season. You know, considering all the changes and the different additions and guys getting out, traded, and new guys coming in, and all the different combinations and all this kind of stuff. And the Atlanta Hawks are in the playoffs. And I think it's because I think there are two individuals that deserve a lot of credit for getting the Atlanta Hawks into the playoffs. And the people that I'm going to mention on this episode today is one, the general manager, Onsi Saleh, and the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks, Quin Snyder. To me, both of those two, Quin Snyder and Onsi Saleh, deserve massive props for getting this Atlanta Hawks team to the playoffs, and they deserve massive props for turning this season around for these Atlanta Hawks. And I want to start with Onsi Saleh first before I get to Quin Snyder. Onsi Saleh, man, like the general manager of the Atlanta Hawks, Onsi Saleh, he's been awesome. He's been incredible as a general manager for these Atlanta Hawks. He was hired he came to the Atlanta Hawks 2 years ago in 2024. I think it was May 2024 when he first came, and he was the general manager just last year, you know, around June 2025. And so he's been in the franchise for 2 years. He's been the general manager for nearly a year, and it just feels like ever since this dude Onsi Saleh has stepped foot with the organization, the Atlanta Hawks have just done nothing but make good decisions under his watch. You know, when you go back to, you know, obviously he wasn't the general manager, but since he's been on the team, you know, they pulled off the DeJounte Murray trade and got Dyson Daniels. And if you look at how the Dyson Daniels DeJounte Murray trade has turned out, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you talk about a robbery. Dyson Daniels has just been he's been arguably one of the best 5 perimeter defenders in the league. You know, just the way that this dude gets steals, deflections, the way he can hound on the ball, guard at the point of attack. Like, you get him, along with the fact that around that time you got 2 first-round picks, and those two first-round picks, you know, turned into basically, you know, you end up getting Porzingis. You trade one of those first-round picks for Porzingis, and then you turn around and you trade Porzingis for Jonathan Kuminga. You know, so essentially you trade DeJounte Murray for Dyson Daniels, who's been awesome, for Jonathan Kuminga, who's been good as a, you know, fringe starter, 6th man for this team. And you also have another first-round pick next year, which is the less of the Pelicans and Bucks. And if you project next season, in all likelihood, the Bucks and the Pelicans are both going to be bad teams next year, which means that pick is probably going to be a lottery pick. Granted, next year's draft is nowhere near as talented and good as this year's draft, but still, that's a valuable asset. And so you do that, right? And then, you know, you trade DeAndre Hunter, and you in which you get a first-round pick for him, and which you also have in this year's draft. You know, you sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who, oh my God, A+ signing. You get Nickeil Alexander-Walker for 4 years, $62 million, $52 million a year. And this dude, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, has done nothing but go from 9 points a game last year to this year averaging 21 points a game on 45% shooting and 40% from three. And in all likelihood, this dude is going to win Most Improved Player. I mean, incredible signing. I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker became a guy that before the year started, we thought this dude was going to be a seventh man backing up Trae Young, and all of a sudden, this dude is a fringe all-star, making $15 million a year. I mean, just unbelievable move. One of the best free agent signings in Atlanta Hawks history. Yeah, I'm going that far. Just unbelievable move. And so you get Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You obviously you get Porzingis, and then you trade him for Jonathan Kuminga. Another very good move. Getting Jonathan Kuminga, just a guy that adds athleticism, just defense, athleticism, ability to finish at the basket, versatile combo forward wing type guy. And 23 years old with still some upside to grow as a player. You add him, and so that's been good. And also, I can't forget about the Trae Young trade. And look, as I've detailed on this episode in the past, I love me some Trae Young. I've defended him. I supported him. And I wanted the Trae Young era to work out for the Atlanta Hawks. I wanted it. But sometimes things just don't work out. And you gotta give Onsi Saleh credit for moving off Trae. As painful as it is for some people to acknowledge, but moving off of Trae Young was the right decision. And the Hawks making the playoffs and not dealing with the play-in validates that moving off from Trae Young was 1,000% the right decision. I like Trae. I defend Trae. I don't think all of the Hawks' issues in the past are all his fault. But we can also be fair about this when it comes to Trae Young. He's limited. He has some limitations as a player. He's a 6-foot guard. Defensively, let's just be kind about it. He's terrible. He's a terrible defender. And in today's NBA, it's hard to win consistently in the NBA with 6-foot guards who are not good defenders. So much of your roster has to be so perfect around a limited defensively challenged point guard like a Trae Young. It's harder to build. It's harder to build around small point guards in 2026 compared to where things were 5-6 years ago. It's just kind of where it is in today's NBA, man. And you also add in the fact that Trae Young wanted a contract extension. The Hawks didn't give it to him, because I think Onsi Saleh wanted to see how this team would look. And I think the worst thing that happened to Trae is he got injured. He got injured. He injured his knee, and the Hawks just found something without him. Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker just played out of their minds, and the team started winning games. And at that time, I said on this episode, when Trae Young was hurt, and I said it, there was a lot of pressure on Trae Young. He had to come back. He had to ingratiate himself with the team, and the team needed to start winning, and Trae Young had to prove that he could be part of the solution and not the problem. And when he came back, the opposite happened. It felt like Trae Young was part of the problem and not the solution. And the Hawks were losing. His defense was awful. Teams were attacking him. And quite honestly, I think it's fair to wonder, regarding Trae, was he really all in on this team? Did Trae Young's feelings get hurt because he didn't get his contract? Those are things I kind of wonder about. But nevertheless, it just wasn't working with Trae Young. It just wasn't, especially after he came back from his injury. And so Onsi Saleh just said, you know what, man? We're going to go in a different direction. We're going to move off of Trae, and we're going to trade him, and we're going to get CJ McCollum, and we're going to get Corey Kispert. And I got to be honest, CJ McCollum has been he's just a better fit. And he's been great for the Hawks. He's been great on the court. And most importantly, I think the one element that CJ McCollum has brought to this team is just the maturity and the leadership and the calmness in the locker room. And Onsi Saleh deserves a lot of credit for bringing CJ McCollum on board. And CJ McCollum deserves a lot of credit for buying in and ingratiating himself with the team. And he's been great. He's been awesome. And you can feel his leadership on the court. You can feel his buy-in. You can feel the players, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Onyeka Okongwu, Kuminga, Mo Gay, Reese Shea, all of these guys. You can tell that they listen to CJ McCollum, and everyone is just bought in. Everyone is on the same page. And CJ McCollum's the veteran leadership has been a huge addition to this team, man. I'll be real about it. I want CJ McCollum back on this team next year, regardless of what happens. Look, do I think CJ McCollum's gonna be like a long-term fixture on this team for the next 3-4 years? No. But for another season or two, I kind of would like to have him back on the team. I like what he's done. I like what he's brought to this group. I like what he's brought as a leader. I like what he's done on the court. He fits with he fits with all the players on the team. He fits with what Quin Snyder wants to do. And everyone loves being around each other, man. And to me, that's a credit to Onsi Saleh for bringing this dude on board, man. So, like, to me, I think he deserves a lot. I think Onsi Saleh deserves a lot of credit for all of these additions, you know, from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jonathan Kuminga. I think I talked about him a little bit earlier, but Jonathan Kuminga's been good for this team. He's added a much-needed athleticism, physical presence, downhill finishing at the basket, versatility, ability to play 4 and 3. I like what I've seen out of Jonathan Kuminga. Now, look, the offense at times has been a little bit rough. I admit it. You know, the drives when he's trying to score over 2 or 3 defenders and he's getting his shot blocked and he's not finishing at the rim at times. You know, like it's been hard to watch. But look, man, I love his defense. And despite some of his inconsistencies on offense, I feel like over the last 5 or so games, he's starting to find his rhythm. And also in Kuminga's defense, I don't think he's been 100% healthy either. You know, I know he's been dealing with this knee thing, but you starting to see lately that he's more comfortable. He's explosive, a downhill guy that can bully ball his way to the basket. He has a nice little mid-range game, and he's starting to hit some threes. You know, and so and defensively, he's just an athlete. He's active with his athleticism. He can make plays at the rim. He can get steals. He can slide his feet. He can guard multiple positions. And so Kuminga, I think, has been a huge help as well. And then, again, it all goes back to Onsi Saleh for signing him. For not signing him, but for trading for him. Trading Porzingis for him. When you knew that Porzingis wasn't going to work out on this team because you can't rely on him from a health standpoint. And so, a lot of credit to Onsi Saleh for all of these moves. And let's not forget, the Atlanta Hawks also own that New Orleans Pelicans pick. Which is... Again, the Pelicans have one of the worst records in the league. I think if the season ended today, I think that pick will be around 7 or 8. And look, man, with the lottery odds, with the flattened lottery odds, we see it every year. Teams that are in that range of where the Hawks are projected to be picking, that 7 to 10 range, you see teams jump up into that top 4, and you want to be in the top 4 in this draft when you talk about A.J. DeBanza, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson. Now, as a Hawk fan, I want A.J. DeBanza or Darren Peterson. I don't really care much about Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson. I want A.J. DeBanza or Darren Peterson. Okay. And the Atlanta Hawks have positioned themselves to that point that they actually have a chance of getting in range to getting one of those two dudes, AJ Depends or Darren Peterson. And it's all because of Onsi Saleh for pulling off that trade on draft night, getting that Pelicans pick. And look, man, I have no ill will towards the Pelicans, but I was rooting hard for them to stink this year. And by God, did they deliver for me. They stink. 26-55 as I'm recording this. And look, man, and also the Milwaukee Bucks, because that pick that the Hawks have is the better of the Bucks and the Pelicans, and the Bucks also stink. They have a bottom 10 record. I think the Bucks have like the 10th worst record in the league. And so the Hawks have two chances of one of the Bucks or Pelicans jumping into that top four. And if that happens, the Hawks get that pick. And so it's a beautiful feeling. And so you add in the success of this team, along with the fact that you're going to have a lottery pick at your disposal. And it's a great time to be an Atlanta Hawk fan. And it's all because of Onsi Saleh. He's done a hell of a job with this team. A hell of a job. But the other guy I'm also mentioning is Quin Snyder. Quin Snyder. Awesome job that he's done with these Atlanta Hawks. Awesome job for having a turnaround that he had. Because, yeah, Onsi Saleh was able to trade for CJ McCollum, and he was able to trade. He was able to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker and get Kuminga, and obviously we've had Dyson Daniels for a couple of seasons now. All that's true, but Quin Snyder deserves a lot of credit for putting all these pieces together and making it all work. He deserves a lot of credit. Awesome credit. Because the truth is with Quin Snyder is he's had to coach 4 different versions of this same team the entire year. One part of the team you're trying to coach Trae Young and Porzingis, and then Trae Young gets injured, and you're trying to coach, a new team with Porzingis and no Trae, and then Porzingis and Trae gets injured, and you're trying to coach up, a team with neither Trae and Porzingis, and then you trade for CJ McCollum, and Jonathan Kuminga, and you're coaching that team, and you're finally able to make it work as dudes get healthy and dudes get more comfortable in Atlanta. When we saw what happened when CJ McCollum and Jonathan Kuminga became more comfortable in the lineup. After the All-Star break, the Atlanta Hawks went 19-5. The Hawks have won 19 out of their last 24 games. That's incredible. And it's because of Quin Snyder for getting these dudes to buy in. And to me, one tell sign that Quin Snyder has the pulse of the team is if you look. I don't know if you guys listened to the interview that CJ McCollum and Nickeil Alexander-Walker did on the Old Men and the Three podcast. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on YouTube. It came out yesterday. But one of the things that CJ McCollum said, one of the questions I think the host asked CJ McCollum was like, what's the difference between this Hawk team? Why is this Hawk team winning? And the first thing that came out of CJ McCollum's mouth was, we're well coached. We're well coached. And that the film sessions are so detailed, and that I've never been in a film room where the coach is this detailed since I've been in college. Those were CJ McCollum's words. That he's never been with a coach that's this detailed when it comes to film sessions since he was in college at Lehigh. That's a tell sign. That's telling to me. That means that Quin Snyder is just he's detail oriented. He understands the process. He understands getting buy-in. He understands winning on the margins. He understands that when you want to win in the NBA, if you want to win at a high level, you got to do the little things. You got to be on your P's and Q's. And Quin Snyder has the buy-in of a guy like CJ McCollum. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, in that same exact episode, Old Man of the Three, the podcast, episode that went out yesterday. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on all those networks. Y'all should listen to it. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the host asked Nickeil Alexander-Walker, what was the reason you came to the Hawks? Why did you want to come to the Atlanta Hawks? You know what Nickeil Alexander-Walker said? The first thing he said, Quin Snyder. Nickeil Alexander-Walker came to the Atlanta Hawks because of Quin Snyder. Because Quin Snyder sold him on a vision that you can get more opportunity here and that we believe in that you have more to your game than you've been able to show when you were in Minnesota and all the previous stops. This is what Quin Snyder sold Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker comes here and immediately he's shocking the world about his game. And this dude is averaging 21 points a game. And this dude is en route to winning Most Improved Player. By the way, it's going to be the second straight season that an Atlanta Hawks player is going to win Most Improved. Last year it was Dyson Daniels, and this year is going to be Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Both guys coached under Quin Snyder. That's beyond impressive. And I think for Quin Snyder, look, man, for good portions of the year, there were a bunch of Hawk fans that wasn't cool with Quin Snyder. Didn't like what he was doing. You know, team was struggling. People had questions about his rotations. You know, he's playing. People are questioning about him. He's not playing Zachary Ricochet enough. He's playing Corey Kispert. And look, I get it. I can be annoyed. I can be annoyed with it too. But the one thing about Quin Snyder is, even if he might play shaky lineups at times, you can't deny that the team loves him. The team plays hard for him, and that him being detail oriented is very true. And you look at him as an offensive minded coach. I mean, there's no denying the guy is an elite offensive coach. You look at what he's been able to do with a guy like Dyson Daniels, who has, for most of the season, even though he's coming around lately, for most of the season just can't hit a jump shot, can't hit a three-pointer. And practically, Quin Snyder has been using him on offense as a center. He's like a point center. He's like a half center, half point guard. You know, he's bringing the ball up in transition, but when he's in the half court, he's setting screens for players like Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, CJ McCollum. And he's setting screens. He's rolling to the basket, diving to the rim, slashing to the basket, getting offensive rebounds, cutting, moving without the ball, finding a way to have an impact on the offensive end. And if you look at what he did in the last game, he had a triple-double. He had 13, 12, and 10 in 3 quarters. Dyson Daniels did that. And the guy defensively he's amazing. He's an amazing defender. And so you got to give Quin Snyder credit for that. You got to give Quin Snyder credit for the fact that Onyeka Okongwu is becoming a real three-point shooter. The guy's shooting 38% from 3 this season on 5 attempts a game. You have to guard Onyeka Okongwu out from three-point range, you know, when you're playing the Hawks. And so you give Quin Snyder credit for pushing Onyeka to becoming a three-point shooter. And so you want to give him credit for that. You give him credit for Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson is going to be an all-NBA player this year. He's going to make all-NBA third team. You know, a guy this season is going to average 22, 10, and 8. A near triple-double. Quin Snyder was the guy that, you know, pushed Jalen Johnson to his abilities, to get the most out of him, to put him in positions to thrive. Jalen Johnson's improved as a shooter. No question about it. His shooting's been much better. His scoring has been much better. And so you give Quin Snyder credit for that. And also, I think the thing that you also want to give Quin Snyder credit for, and, you know, give him some credit. This is the reason. This is what started this hot streak that the Hawks were on. He benched Zachary Ricochet. He benched him. He benched him for CJ McCollum. He put CJ McCollum in the starting lineup. And when CJ McCollum was in the starting lineup, this lineup of Onyeka Okongwu, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and CJ McCollum, that starting 5 was elite. You know, from a net ratings perspective, they're outscoring teams by over 20 points per 100 possessions. And so that lineup was incredible. And what CJ McCollum has done, he's given his team an element of ball handling and scoring. You saw that game against the Cleveland Cavaliers the other night. CJ McCollum had 25 points in the first half. And he him along with Dyson Daniels both set the tone in that game to put the Hawks, you know, in control of that game against the Cleveland Cavaliers to clinch a win, and as a result, a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. And so you give Quin Snyder a lot of credit for all of this stuff, for what he's been able to do, for how he's been able to use Dyson Daniels, for how he's been able to use Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, C.J. McCollum, Onyeka Okongwu, Jalen Johnson, Jonathan Kuminga, even a guy like Gabe Vincent. I forgot to mention him. I honestly, Saleh deserves a lot of credit for getting Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent's been solid for this team. And Quin Snyder deserves a lot of credit for how he's been able to use him. Getting him in positions for him to thrive. And so I just think, man, for the Hawks, it's been a hell of a season. It's been a hell of a run. And for Onsi Saleh and Quin Snyder, I mean, I'm just happy. I'm happy for both of them, especially Quin Snyder. Quin Snyder, to me, like, this season is the season that he finally put his stamp on this team, on this roster, and you can see that this team fits his image. This team fits with how Quin Snyder wants to coach basketball. Fast pace, ball movement, shooting, getting out in transition, playing in the open court and defending. This team fits what Quin Snyder wants to do. And as an Atlanta Hawk fan, I've enjoyed watching this team over the past 2-3 months. It's been fun. It's been fun to watch these Atlanta Hawks play basketball, man. And I just it's all going up for this team, and you're in the playoffs. We don't know who the Hawks gonna be playing yet as I'm recording, but it's a great feeling for the Hawks to be in the playoffs right now. It's a great feeling, and I think Atlanta Hawk fans embrace it, live it up, enjoy it, because for the first time in 3 years, this team is going to the playoffs, and it feels great. It feels wonderful. It feels awesome. And regardless of who the Atlanta Hawks play, players like Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are going to get playoff experience. And they need this playoff experience in the worst way. I want to see Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels in high leverage situations. I want to see them in high leverage moments. I want to see them in a spot where everything is on the line and that teams are going to be going out guns blazing on every single possession. Every single possession counts in the playoffs. And I think for Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, they need this. They need to understand playoff basketball. They need to understand that every possession matters. And I'm sure C.J. McCollum's gonna be telling them that, is gonna be telling all this type of stuff all week. And they need to hear it. And I'm glad that come playoff time, these Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and the rest of this team, they're gonna be in playoff basketball. They're gonna be in playoff moments. They're gonna be in playoff situations, and I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to the NBA playoffs. I can't wait to see the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs. Regardless of who they play, because it's gonna be beneficial for them in their development, man. I make no mistake about it. And look, man, I love what these Atlanta Hawks have been able to accomplish this season. You have Jalen Johnson, who's gonna make an All NBA team. You got C.J. McCollum, who's likely gonna win Most Improved Player. Dyson Daniels, who's improving. C.J. McCollum, a veteran leader. Onyeka Okongwu, Jonathan Kuminga, and this team's gonna have flexibility in cap space. And by the way, like I said before, you got this New Orleans Pelicans pick that's gonna be a top. You're gonna have a top 10 pick, and with a possibility of that pick being a top 3 or 4, if you can get some lottery luck. And so it's a great time to be an Atlanta Hawks fan. And like I said, man, big ups to the Hawks, big ups to the organization, and I want to give my kudos and my love to Onsi Saleh and Quin Snyder, because those two dudes deserve massive credit for turning this season around and for putting these Atlanta Hawks in a great place moving forward, man. And As an Atlanta Hawk fan, I'm happy. And the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs, baby. Playoff bound Atlanta Hawks. And it feels awesome. And Kaka! Go Hawks.